Hello, thank you for tuning in this morning. We have with us our first guest today, Mr. Jobie Patrick with Partrick Financial Group. Welcome.
Hello, Janelle. Thank you.
Thanks for being here. We really love to welcome guests on to really learn about who they are. We love learning who the person is behind the business. And so that's how we're going to start today. So if you could just start by telling our listeners a little bit about yourself, both personally and professionally.
Well, I would say that as a financial advisor and an estate planner, I started 30 years ago. It was a career that I was pulled into by some associates that said, hey, you know, you need to do more than retail, which is the industry I was in at the time. So going to work for a company like MetLife, who took care of the GM retirees, was my start. Spent a lot of time out at the GM areas that took care of the engineers and got them started. We switched over to John Hancock and went to the Ford employees. So my background is with the auto workers and their benefit plans. Okay. So back in the day, we used to get good early out packages for the auto manufacturers, and they would come in and sit down and say, can I afford to take this? How does this look for my future? And a lot of those clients are still clients today, 30 years later. Yeah, we moved to Brighton 20 years ago, and we're in the building down across from Meyer and Bell Tire, and they call it the Jimmy John's building, but we were the first ones in there 20 years ago. And
beautiful building, by the way.
It took forever to build it, but it was considered a jewel for Brighton at the time, before Brighton got so big and thriving as it is today. But yeah, my background was dealing with early out pensions and rollovers and taking care of the financial needs. And most of my clients today, I'd say 85% are either retired or pre-retired. And that gets us into the estate planning side. Absolutely.
So do you live in the area then, or what brought you to, so you said you moved into the Brighton area. What brought you here?
You know, my parents moved out here 24 years ago. I followed and was involved with my parents right up to the end here. And I would say that 24 years ago when I came out, and 20 years ago when we hung a shingle out here, the town was different. You know, it was a much smaller town, and I've got to watch it grow. And it's been amazing. It's been amazing for business. You know, people come out here and retire and they think this is the country. So I'm glad to have them. And yeah, so over 20 years ago in the current location, but 24 in the Brighton area. And I did live in Oak Point for a while, moved out of there to Howell, and now I'm in Fowlerville. So kind of moving to get more space, just to get a little more area. And as you know, Livingston County has gotten pretty tight.
It has, but that's interesting. So you kind of had a taste of all of these different regions of Livingston County, which is nice as well. So your recent move into Fowlerville, you were just telling me that you're on some acreage and you're kind of enjoying that as well. That's wonderful.
Just a little elbow room.
Yep.
You know, most of my time out here, the majority was spent in Brighton. So, you know, again, getting out and getting just a little more space. This is our forever home. This is where we're going to stay. I've had my last move. Mama says we're not moving again. So.
Well, good. Well, we're happy to have you here. Can you tell us about some of the services that you offer at Partrick Financial Group, and exactly what is Partrick Financial Group? Because you were explaining that a little bit before we jumped on air, and I think that would be really interesting for our listeners to learn a little bit more about that.
Well, we're an estate planning firm, and what they call us is RIA, or Registered Investment Advisory Firms. As such, we have assets under management that we manage for, in my case, a lot of retirees. What would happen is someone would come in with a series of questions. We'd put together a financial plan for them and do their estate planning out to including long-term care, passing the estate on to the next generation, looking at taxes, looking at all the change in the current law that's coming down. So as an estate planner, you get more of a complete picture than you would with just a singular, you know, talk about the money kind of situation. We network with other firms, so that's why we're a group. No firm is an island, so you've got to be able to share data these days. The world's moving at the speed of life. So the more data you can get your hands on, the better your decisions are. Yeah, and I think servicing those clients long-term, generating income for them, protecting their principal, one of my number one concerns, certainly after what we've been through recently. And that's the way we manage. And as a registered investment advisory firm, we're fee-based, we're not commission. So there is a straight, no matter how many trades or how much we have to move around, there's no fee or cost for that. It's just a flat fee for the year. And that's the kind of advisor you want. They have skin in the game with you.
Absolutely.
When you do better, they do better. When you're not, they're not.
So I have a question then too. So you work on more of the estate planning side. When would one consider that? At retirement age, or should you consider that prior to retirement?
You know, ideally, get started on it when you can, 30s, 40s, 20s. I've got people with their kids coming in that are serious about it now. These millennials are, some of them, taking a very hard look at, hey, where can I get done early? I want to be done with this, not traditionally at 60, 62 Social Security age. I want to be done early. So planning can be started at any age. Unfortunately, a lot of people come to me at retirement, and all of that we've missed it all. Now it's pretty much, here you go, what can I do with it? So planning early makes a difference.
Yeah, absolutely. So I gotta get that on my list. So what do you do? I know that you're pretty involved with the community. What are some of the things that you're doing with the community and giving back to the community?
You know, probably a little bit of everything. We're certainly any charity in town that solicits us for sponsorship on the golf outings and the traditional things. We've been very involved with Brighton High School for 20 years now, as far as football and all the sports and academics. But we also sponsor the things a lot of people don't, and it could be the equestrian club, the glee club, things that it's funny, but they have a harder time getting funding. As far as charity work, we've done quite a few spots here with WHMI over the years. I do quite a bit of TV commercials in the area, so if you live in Livingston, you've probably seen me there. But I would say that if there's a charity out there that we can help, and they're local and sometimes not, we're involved, and we're going to do some sort of sponsorship for them.
Well, and why do you feel the need to get involved in those community groups and those organizations?
Oh, you don't get to live in a beautiful community like this and not give back. You just don't. It's not right. One, it's the way I believe in my heart, but also it's the fact that this community has given us so much. We have to give back, and it's a partnership. That's the way I look at it.
It is, absolutely, and I agree. And so many businesses that come on and are guests on our show really share that same sentiment, and that's wonderful. But it just as you said, we wouldn't be able to live in this beautiful community if we didn't have businesses such as yourself and the others that are visiting and as guests on our show giving back. So it is really, really integral and important, absolutely. So I wanted to talk a little bit too about just your clients, and in general, are you taking on new clients? About how many clients do you serve? Are they all from this area?
Oh, absolutely. Most people from around the area will drive 30, 45 minutes to see their advisor. So the majority are in the area. We manage, well, I'm responsible for well over $250 million of local assets, but we have in the neighborhood, I would say, of, believe it or not, with the volume of new people coming to the area, we've been exponentially busy, and we do take new clients. I certainly like to have a free visit to sit down and do a meet and greet with the client first. Not everybody's a good match. And I think they need to approve of me as much as I need to know that I can help them. If that partnership's going to work, we're going to get together and get busy. So yeah, absolutely, free visits are important. Consultation's important. I'm kind of old school. I'd rather meet you first and make sure that everything's comfortable, and then we can get into more of the personal information.
Okay, no, that makes sense. I think that's a really nice approach, and I think that too, like you said, it has to be that partnership. Just again, even going back to the community, it has to be that partnership, right? So I wanted to mention too that you guys are and have been a longtime supporter of the Michigan Challenge Balloon Fest.
Yes.
So we at the Chamber really appreciate your support and your continued partnership. So what do you love about the Balloon Fest? What intrigued you to get involved?
You know, it's always been just a great time for families. Nothing like it to get the family down. It's summer fun. It's just, for me, it kind of says summer. This year's going to be different. You know, we're not going to be able to do it the same way, but I'm a firm believer too that when you make a commitment to be involved in a project like this, that you do it during good times and bad times. You know, we'll get through this. This will pass. But this year is going to be a little different. People will have to follow a little more closely as to the launches and where things are going to be. But I think that this event is still going to say summer.
Yeah, and we really hope that it will too. And I agree with you. There's something about it that just really, it feels like not only the launch of the balloons, but the launch of like that traditional summer season. It's kind of one of the bigger festivals that it is the bigger festival that and it kind of kicks off the series of all of the different things to follow. So we are absolutely looking forward to it, and like you mentioned, it is going to look a bit different this year, but to see the balloons fly, I think that will be great. Of course, weather permitting, right? Everybody
cross we've been through that, haven't we, in the years?
Exactly. So we're looking forward to seeing balloons fly, and you know, I think the thing that's nice about this year is that we are trying to focus a little more on bringing things to our region and looking at how we can kind of spread it out throughout the downtown area and have these different activities going on, which you guys have been a huge supporter in that as well.
Yeah, you know, one location, this time it'll be more like a treasure hunt.
Exactly.
We'll have some fun with it. It'll be different.
I like it. I like it. So are you planning to attend this year's event?
Yes, we'll be around and bouncing around. I'll be like everybody else, just kind of bopping in and out of all the different locations. You're right. Watching the balloons fly for me is the big thing. And I remember every year it's just a big family event. So it's great to see the kids out. It's good to see, just be outside, enjoy the air. Just let's get out of the house.
Exactly. So we're definitely like counting on that, looking forward to it. We are so excited to have supporters such as yourself stick with us through, as you mentioned, the good times and the bad, and hope to be back in full traditional fashion next year. Real quick, as we wrap up, I appreciate everything that you've been able to share with us today. Could you just share some contact information with our listeners in case somebody would like to reach out to you to start their management?
Sure. Partrick Financial Group's located across from Meyer and Bell Tire. It's in the Mill Pond Park building. The phone number is 810-225-9876. And again, keep in mind, fee-based, and we use ETF exchange-traded funds, which are quite nimble and able to work well in today's market, let's say. So if you'd like to find out more and come in for a visit, love to have you.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much again for joining us today.
Thank you.
All right. Stay tuned for our next guest.